I don't think I would be able to live with myself if I left one of them in there.
Tonight on NBC Palm Springs, a teen sister relives the moment she saved her brother's lives while their homes went up in flames in Indio. Their mother is overcome with emotion.
This is the opposite of helping small businesses.
Our schools and local communities desperately need more investments right now.
We're going to be talking about Proposition 15 tonight. In addition to picking a president in November, you'll also have to decide on propositions that will impact our community for years to come.
It's okay. It's okay.
Communities south of the Salton Sea can't catch a break. More than 600 earthquakes have struck that region in 24 hours. Tonight we'll hear from well-known seismologist Dr. Lucy Jones on what it all means. Mike.
We're going to talk about the science behind the Brawley seismic zone, and we broke a triple-digit record today. Rather ominous one, but I've got some good news on the horizon. Details in your full forecast coming up.
This is NBC Palm Springs.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Gino Lamont.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. We have a lot to get to tonight, but we begin with that tragic fire in Indio, leaving 3 families without their homes. Now, for one family, all 3 children miraculously escaped. With no shoes and only the clothes on their backs and no chance to grab anything, this family is now homeless. Our Regina Urita talks to the teen sister about what happened.
It started with flames, then the scream for help.
Fire, Lucia. Fire.
That is what Inesa Bautista says she heard coming from her younger brother after their home in Indio burst into flames and quickly spread to 2 other mobile homes, burning all 3.
I don't think I would be able to live with myself if I left one of them in there.
Bautista suffered second-degree burns on her feet after saving her younger brothers, 11 and 5. They were the only ones in the house. She says they're all lucky to be alive.
I thought that the fire was gonna catch us. Went into her room and opened the window and throw the kids out so she can save her life.
The family says they don't know what exactly started it. Riverside County Fire Department is still investigating.
So there's a lot of work to do. He's got to go through the rubble, and look at where the origin of the fire might have been. When the first engine company arrived, there was 3 mobile homes that were on fire. So we had a very intense, large fire.
But with no insurance and barely any income, the Bautista family lost everything they own in minutes.
This is what their vehicle looks like. Basically crushed and burnt. It's a pile of metal debris. Everything is a pile of metal debris after what the fire consumed. But for the family living here, it's a lot more. It's their home and the memories in it all burnt down.
They're there to have life. That's the important thing. I don't care about the material, nothing. I can start over.
For now, they're living at Grandma's house, hoping to recover what was lost. For NBC Palm Springs, I'm Regina Urita.
We're tracking that earthquake swarm south of the Salton Sea. More than 600 earthquakes just the past 24 hours. 97% of them have been small, but it's still a wake-up call for all of us that live here in earthquake country. Our Kitty Alvarado is at the Satellite Center. Kitty, now I understand that you actually received one of those new earthquake alerts on your phone yesterday. Tell us about that.
Unbelievable, but yes, I did, and I had completely forgotten that I downloaded that app until I was alerted about that 4.9 earthquake that shook Westmoreland. That is so far the biggest one among that swarm of quakes that hit that region. It gave me at least 15 seconds warning. This warning can save lives.
Mommy! It's okay. It's okay.
Westmoreland, just south of the Salton Sea, has been hit by a swarm of earthquakes, nearly 600 in a 24-hour period, the largest a magnitude 4.9. Renowned seismologist Dr. Lucy Jones says this is normal in the region of the Brawley seismic zone.
The chance of a 5 plus at the same location where the swarm is going on is relatively high.
Jones says this will not trigger a quake on the San Andreas Fault. She says the largest quake produced in this zone happened in the same area with a swarm.
Back in 1981, the largest one was 5.8.
While earthquakes can't be predicted,
Earthquake drop cover, hold on.
You can get an alert before one happens. Amanda Moyer, the project manager of Earthquake Warning California, says getting a warning before it shakes is as easy as downloading the free app, My Shake, on your phone.
This new and innovative tool is great to give people just a few minutes notice to take the appropriate action.
Our state has the first earthquake warning system in the country. A network of seismic sensors are strategically placed around the state that register movement around the clock. That network will send an alert to the app on your cell phone when there's a significant earthquake that will affect you.
The threshold to receive My Shake alert is a magnitude 4.5 or greater earthquake.
The app is just one in a series of tools launched by the Office of Emergency Services that will help you be better prepared for the big one. Dr. Lucy Jones says the swarm of quakes should be a good nudge to take action.
So here you're feeling earthquakes. It's a wonderful time to say, oh, right, this is part of it, and some of them are going to be bigger than this.
And Dr. Lucy Jones also says that larger quakes usually happen without swarms, just aftershocks. And experts say the more people that download the app, the better it will work because they will develop better technology. Reporting live from the Satellite Center, Kitty Alvarado, NBC Palm Springs.
All right, thank you, Kitty. Another hot one out there today, and we're under a statewide flex alert until 10 tonight. Of course, that means the utility companies are asking everyone to avoid using major appliances like your dishwasher or dryer until after 10 tonight. You're also encouraged to turn up your thermostat, I guess, to at least 78 degrees to help avoid power outages.
Yeah, I'm taking a live look outside right now, courtesy of our Agua Caliente Casino cam. The sun is setting down in the west there. It looks lovely, but man, we are still at 110 at 6 o'clock at night. Mike, are we going to see an end of these triple digits anytime soon?
It's going to be a very slow and gradual cool down. That is the good news. As we go over the next 7 days, we will start to see those numbers go down, but nothing particularly dramatic. I'll show you that coming up in just a moment. Want to touch on that flex alert. Lots of people were without power today in the Coachella Valley. Just a reminder to have a plan in place there in case that happens. Make sure you got plenty of water, plenty of gas in the car in case you need to use it for some air conditioning relief. Make sure that you've got plenty of ice on hand as well. We always throw a couple of extra trays of ice cubes into the freezer this time of year just in case that happens. And then just to reiterate, if you could just hold off on any laundry or dishwashing for just a few more hours. That all expires at 10 p.m. tonight. And as you saw in that Agua Caliente Casino cam, the sun is going down. The atmosphere will begin cooling. Talking about earthquakes, man, it has been busy in the Brawley seismic zone. This is Westmoreland, so if you're not familiar with that area, it's just to the south of the Salton Sea. Let me zoom that out for you. We've had over 600 tremblers in the last 24 hours, the biggest of which is a 4.9. Now, this is nothing unusual. This happened in 1980. It happened in 2005. It also happened in 2012. And the biggest I think that we saw was about 5.5, 5.9. Now, what's unique about this is that this is right at the terminus or the very end of the San Andreas Fault. It ends right about there near Bombay Beach. That's about 18.5 miles or 30 kilometers from where we saw all of this seismic activity. Then we've also got the Imperial Fault that starts right near El Centro and heads down towards the south. And then we've got the San Jacinto Fault that takes off towards the north and west as well. So this is an area that's just kind of a terminus of several different fault zones there. Oh, and then also it's got all those little geothermal pots under there as well. There's a bunch of little tiny volcanoes. So bottom line, it's some very seismically active stuff. It's no indication that the big one is coming, but it's always a reminder. Have a plan in place there as well. Gino's right. It was hot today. 113 was our official high at Palm Springs International. 115 is the record for today's date. Clearly almost 20 degrees above average, and in the overnights we were 12 degrees warm there as well. We're going to talk about a very interesting record that we broke today coming up. Neighborhood weather showing us at 106 at Palm Springs International. Still haven't seen that wind switch around to the northwest, and we're still in single-digit humidity. Okay, here it comes. We've got another hot one on Friday. We'll dial it back slightly on Saturday. We'll get ourselves under 110 on Sunday, and we're going to keep right on trucking into some low 100s. I'll tell you the whole story coming up.
All right, thank you, Mike. Taking you live now to Thermal, where that C-130 cargo plane that was involved in a mid-air collision earlier this week still sits in that carrot field in Thermal. The C-130 and an F-35B fighter jet clipped each other during a mid-flight training for refueling. Now, the two men on board the fighter jet were ejected before it crashed into Ocotillo Wells. Neither one was seriously hurt. And late this afternoon, we did learn that everyone involved, the 8 crew on the C-130, as well as the pilot involved in the F-35, have all been medically cleared. So everybody's doing okay. But at some point, they are going to have to move this huge cargo plane, and we're going to keep an eye on it. We'll show it to you when it happens.
This November, Californians will be voting on Prop 15. It's a vote whether or not to tax some commercial properties to help increase funding for schools and local governments. Our Nico Payne is live now from Rancho Mirage with more on Proposition 15. Nico.
Supporters say at this point, Proposition 15 needs to pass in order to help our hurting schools. But opposers say it will only open doors to tax homeowners in the future. If passed, Prop 15 would tax some commercial properties based on their current market value instead of the price at which it was purchased. The funds raised from this change would fund K-12 schools, community colleges, and local governments.
When we think about the pros of the initiative, our schools and local communities desperately need more investments right now. Even before this crisis, California schools were 39th in the nation in per pupil funding. We had the most overcrowded classrooms in the entire country.
This proposition does not affect homeowners or renters, and there are exemptions for small businesses. The only thing affected by this proposition are commercial properties worth more than $3 million. But ads against Prop 15 say homeowners are next.
A worse recession isn't the time for the biggest property tax hike ever.
Those in support of Proposition 15 say it will implement new tax cuts for small businesses, and only 10% of the top corporations will be affected, generating 92% of the revenue, equaling $12 billion every year. But for opponents of the proposition,
is the opposite of helping small businesses.
They say these property tax increases will negatively affect small businesses.
At the end of the day, raising property taxes on commercial properties will hurt small business. When we raise those property taxes, it doesn't hurt the building owner. It's passed down to the tenant, the small business owner.
Proponents say it's a long time coming, and it fixes some issues that stem from Prop 13 passed by Californians over 40 years ago.
Prop 13 was voted on in 1978 because a lot of folks saw increasing property taxes on their homes. And what ended up happening was those protections for homeowners actually got extended to commercial industrial property, corporations.
If passed, Prop 15 will be implemented in 2022 and phased in until 2025. Reporting live, Nico Payne, NBC Palm Springs.
All right, thank you, Nico. COVID-19 cases are spiking in half the states around the country. And even though doctors and city officials are begging him to cancel, the president is still planning a maskless rally in state where cases are spiking 300%. We'll tell you about his trip to Wisconsin coming up.
As he was coming towards me, I said, back off right away.
You don't want to miss this story. A 67-year-old woman came between an intruder and her elderly neighbors. You don't want to miss how she fended off the attack. Stay with us. She's 67 years old and stands less than 5 feet tall, but she is no weakling. California woman was confronted by an intruder, and she not only protected herself, but her neighbors. Amy Johnson reports.
As he was coming towards me, I said, back off right away.
67-year-old Lorenza Marujo is tough. She's had 26 years of martial arts training. So when she told a man who broke into her senior apartment complex to back off, he listened. But unfortunately, he made his way to her friend and neighbor's apartment, 81-year-old Elizabeth McCrae.
And he grabbed me and he shook me and I went down on the floor.
Marujo heard the screams and went to help.
I squeezed myself between her and him. I put Mom out of the side and I jumped on him and I was punching him and everything. And I had the cane against his throat.
She says she didn't want to kill him, so she held him down with her hands.
He lifted up and tried to twist my hand. At the same time, I twisted his, turned it around real fast. And he was saying, "You're hurting me, you're hurting me." And I said, "I don't care. I don't care what happens to you. You have no right to hurt an elderly person."
I didn't expect that little lady would be that brave. I was trembling. I grabbed her by the leg. I said, "Oh, Miss Kitty, be careful. You're going to kill us." She said, "Not tonight."
We do not recommend you just jumping in. We recommend that you dial 911 for emergency assistance, which in this case, she did that and she also jumped in. What she told me is her training kicked in and it was like a muscle memory. She knew she had to, help her friend out.
That was Amy Johnson reporting. Police arrived on scene and took the intruder into custody. The neighbor was taken to the hospital and she's expected to make a full recovery.
That is our new favorite human being on the planet. Mike, top that one.
Nope, can't do it. That is my favorite story of the year so far. Here's a live look from your Agua Caliente casino camera, and it is gorgeous out there. A little bit less smoke, but still very hot. We're going to see what we can do about fixing that when we come back. Welcome back. Here's another gorgeous live look, courtesy of our Walter Clark Cam. Folks heading home on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. We got some skies that are considerably clearer than they were pretty much for the entire month of September. Things moving in the right direction here in Southern California. Still many challenges in Northern California. We'll touch on that coming up in the next half hour. In the meantime, I want to talk to you about September. The numbers are compiled, and it was a hot one. In a really simple sense here, everything that you see in red was above average. Everything you see in yellow was a record. We did that 3 times. We actually also had 3 days that were delightfully below average, including a couple days that were in the upper double digits there. But then after that, we just heated back up once again. Now, here's what we did today. First day of October, 113 degrees, but 2 degrees shy of the record set back in 1980, but almost 20 degrees above the 30-year average. In the overnights, we got to 79, which is nice, but that's also 12 degrees above average. Thermal got to 113 today, but that actually broke their old record of 112 set back in 2012. Indio broke a record by 1 degree today as well, also going back to 2012. San Diego, for the second day in a row, got close to triple digits, 97, shattering their old record from 1965. And Idlewild tied a record today as well. 93 is where they got to. If you were with Jerry Steffen this morning, you know already we broke an ominous record. 136 days that we've had in triple digits so far this year, breaking the old record back in 1958. I went a little bit deeper with it. In fact, I'll move out of the way so you can see what I'm talking about here. The number of days that we have had 100 or more so far this year, 136, 110 or more, 65, and we've already had 5 days that have been 120 or more, and all of that data from Palm Springs International. The first 100-degree day this year was on April 23rd. The first 110-degree day was on May 7th, and the first of those 5 120-degree days was on July 12th. Now, just in case you're wondering if this is some sort of a blip or an anomaly, it is not. The climate is continuing to warm. Over the last 100 years, most of the records that we are breaking right now are only about 20 or 30 years old, and we're continuing to move in that direction. Speaking of moving in a direction, we will see those numbers start to move in a lower direction as we go into the weekend here. Tracking another long wave trough that looks like it'll slide across the region. No miracles here, but what it will do is get us into the low 100s in about 7 days or so. I'll show you that, and then look at Marie churning down there in the eastern Pacific. This is the 4th named hurricane of the season. Currently a Category 2 with sustained winds just over 100 miles an hour, gusts up to 132, expected to intensify to a Cat 4. Remember, there's only 5 categories. This is going to be a powerful hurricane. Good news is it's going to move into some cooler water, nowhere near Hawaii, and then eventually dissipate, just turn into some shear that will put some cloud cover across the west coast in about 7 days. Currently 89 in the Yucca Valley, 99 in Coachella, 106 in Palm Springs, a delightful 72 in Big Bear, and record-tying Idlewild currently at 88. Still haven't seen that wind switch around to the northwest yet. Looks like that'll take about another hour or two, but we will get some ventilation tonight. We'll get ourselves into the upper 70s right around midnight, into the mid-80s at 2 a.m. We'll start off about 2 degrees cooler on Friday morning than when we did today. 111 by 4 p.m. and those dew points riding in the mid-20s. That's going to be about 4% humidity. 111 tomorrow in Palm Springs and Palm Desert, 109 in Indio, 110 in Thousand Palms, upper 90s in Joshua Tree, upper 70s in Big Bear. Your Comfort Air 7-day forecast shows us getting below 110 on Sunday. Yay for us. We're going to keep that trend going as we go towards next week. 102 on Thursday, and overnights in the upper 60s.
Coronavirus coverage brought to you by East Valley COVID-19 testing site, serving residents of eastern Coachella Valley.
Hope Hicks, one of President Trump's closest aides, has tested positive for coronavirus. Hicks had traveled with the president to the debate in Cleveland and to a rally last night in Minnesota. Hicks is among the highest-ranking members in the president's orbit to have reportedly tested positive for COVID-19.
Yeah, this is more than half the states are heading in the wrong direction. Average new case counts skyrocketing. States that once flattened the coronavirus curve are now seeing a new spike. Most of those cases are now in the Midwest and the Northeast. Wisconsin is in trouble. Average case counts have climbed a stunning 300% in the past month. The president had planned 2 of his unmasked rallies this weekend in Wisconsin against the advice of local officials and doctors.
We are in a very severe situation with COVID.
Currently, 1 hospital out of the 4 in Green Bay has more patients than the entire city had at our peak in April.
Yeah, the rally in La Crosse has been canceled, but it's unclear whether or not they're going to cancel the rally in Green Bay. The House just passed another stimulus relief bill. After the break, we'll take a look at whether or not struggling Americans can expect a bipartisan agreement anytime soon.
They give me 30 days. I'm just thinking about my kids. Where did I go with my kids?
Washington doesn't change the facts on the ground. It's the first of the month and rent is due for millions of Americans. After the break, we'll take you to the heart of the eviction crisis.
Today marks the 3rd anniversary of the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. 58 people were killed, 700 others were injured when a shooter opened fire from the Mandalay Bay into a crowd in Las Vegas. Witnesses say the shooting lasted nearly 15 minutes. Just this week, a judge approved an $800 million class action settlement. It will be divided among more than 4,000 victims.
Hey, President Joe Biden is lapping President Trump in ad spending in 12 battleground states. From Labor Day through the rest of September, the Biden campaign outspent Trump campaign on ads by $64 million in those battlegrounds. Total campaign spending for president and Congress is on pace to hit nearly $11 billion. As you can imagine, it's smashing all previous records.
Taking a live look now from our Agua Caliente casino cam out there. This is the Palm Springs cam. Gorgeous sunset out there tonight. NBC Palm Springs Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett is tracking the conditions outside. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Sarah. Well, those sunsets earlier and earlier every evening, a sign that we are moving towards fall, but you wouldn't know it by looking at the mercury. Temperatures got up to 113 degrees again today, actually triggered yet another flex alert here in the Coachella Valley. That will still be in place until 10 p.m. tonight. What the folks from Edison are asking you to do is just try to put off doing anything that will put an extra tax on your air conditioner tonight. So if you can hold off doing the dishwashing or the laundry until after 10 o'clock tonight, and maybe keep the lights down low, that would actually be very helpful. Make it so that we don't have any rolling blackouts. But just in case we do, and there were thousands of people that were without power this afternoon in the Coachella Valley, make sure that you have plenty of water on hand, 1 gallon per person per day. You got plenty of gas in the car just in case you need to hop into your vehicle to get a little bit of air conditioning, and make sure you have plenty of ice on hand, because just a little bit of extra ice this time of year can help a lot. We always throw a couple extra trays into the freezer this time of year. You know what? It's been a very active 24 hours down to the southern end of the Salton Sea there. This is what's called the Brawley seismic zone. Over 600 temblors in the last 24 hours. The biggest one so far has been a 4.9. Now, this isn't anything that is unique. This has happened in 1980. It happened in 2005. It also happened in 2012. In fact, the biggest one ever recorded there was a 5.9. You got the San Andreas Fault that ends right about there. You've got the Imperial Fault Zone that starts right about here. And then you got the San Jacinto Fault out there. So yeah, it's an active area, but it's not a sign that the big one is coming, but it's also a warning that you should have a plan in place there as well. After hitting 113 today, we're still at 106 at Palm Springs International. Still haven't seen that diurnal switch around to the north and west. High pressure is fully in control, and after getting down to 4% today, we're back up to about 7, but it's still pretty dry out there. Next 3 days brought to you by Comfort Air shows another scorcher on Friday. We'll dial that back slightly on Saturday. We'll get ourselves under 110 on Sunday, and we're going to keep right on going. We'll see how cool we can get it coming up.
America's jobs recovery continues at a slow pace. Another 837,000 Americans filed for first-time unemployment benefits last week. Adding up all the different government benefits, about 27 million people received jobless aid in the week that ended September 12th, up by about 500,000. The government's monthly jobs report, the last before the election, is due tomorrow.
The House of Representatives just passed a $2.2 trillion stimulus package, but there's no bipartisan deal in sight as it heads off to the Republican-controlled Senate. On Capitol Hill, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin spent all day negotiating. Sources say the two are still far apart on a deal. The two parties remain deeply divided over the size and the scope of the next relief bill. The coronavirus pandemic has rocked America's economy, leaving millions of Americans without the income that they need to make rent. Many families are on the brink of losing everything, with evictions still being carried out despite a national moratorium. Kyung La reports.
In Columbus, Ohio, the city convention center
All rise.
is now the courtroom.
And you're occupying this property?
This space chosen to socially distance crowds during the pandemic. 118 evictions are on the docket today. Among them, Umu Conte.
I work in the nursing home. When I get infected with the COVID.
Conte says she contracted the virus in June at the nursing home where she worked. The U.S. resident, an immigrant from Sierra Leone, was out of work for 2 months. She's now working as a home health care aide, making $12 an hour. It's not enough to pay the rent she owes.
They give me 30 days. I'm just thinking about my kids. Where did I go with my kids?
Everywhere you turn, a different face shares an economic plight that landed them here.
And why did you do that?
For non-payment of rent.
Cases filed against tenants despite a national moratorium on most evictions until the end of the year. In Columbus, financial aid and pro bono lawyers sit on the wings of Magistrate Kirk Lindsay's eviction court.
These are certainly unprecedented times from my perspective.
Working to get that moratorium information to tenants, like the Turner family.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just scary for her because this is like our first apartment, like we're new really to the adulthood.
They're new parents, afraid to comfort their 8-month-old daughter in the public air in the pandemic.
Everything was going so perfect until it just wasn't, you know.
Both of you lost your jobs.
Yeah.
That was in March. Rodney Turner just got a new job 2 weeks ago, but they're months behind on rent.
It's just really overwhelming and scary because we don't know, what's going to happen in there. They could say we got to move out in a week, and we don't know.
The tenants we meet today won't know if they can stay in their homes until yet another court appearance next week. Umu Conte heads home. A single mother, the healthcare worker asks friends to care for her children day to day while she cares for the elderly.
This is Ramatu. This is Khadija. It's my daughter.
She is grateful for her small home.
My apartment is nice, as you can see.
She just needs to find a way to stay. Kyung Law, CNN, Columbus, Ohio.
All right, coming up after the break, one NBA coach has a new job, and the NFL has updated team protocols regarding COVID-19. Stay with us. Sports is coming up next.
Well, it's a little bit far. Okay, that's good. That's good. Thank you. Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Mic check, mic check.
NBC Palm Springs Sports Desk, brought to you by Agua Caliente Casinos. We have your game. It's time. Let's push play.
Welcome back. I'm Brandy Flores. So you know it's time to check on today's sports headlines. Former LA Clippers head coach Doc Rivers has already moved on to another team. Earlier today, Doc agreed to a 5-year deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. Despite not making it to the conference finals like everybody predicted this year, Doc Rivers left the Clippers as the franchise's most successful coach. In 7 seasons, Doc led the Clippers to a record of 356 to 208, winning 63% of their regular season games, the 5th best record in the NBA. Now, despite what the internet thinks of his coaching abilities, Doc is a great coach and a great person. That I can tell you firsthand from working with the Clippers the past couple of years. I definitely wish him the best. Shouldn't be hard as he has a few stars on his new team already. On today's COVID-19 sports news, we are talking all about the NFL. In good news, the Minnesota Vikings reported to having no positive test results. They were able to resume practice and prepare for their matchup against the Texans this Sunday. However, the Titans reported to not having 5 players and 6 staff test positive for coronavirus. So they're still shut down, and their game against the Steelers that was initially postponed to this following Monday or Tuesday has now been postponed to a later date. As a result of this, the NFL has implemented new protocols for all teams exposed to coronavirus. The most notable protocols include 2 required daily testings before it was just 1. Gloves must be worn by everyone at practice except quarterbacks on their throwing hand. All meetings must be virtual, and no team or player gatherings are allowed away from the facilities. We have Padres and some NFL action going on right now. The Dodgers are going to get going a little bit later, so be sure to tune in at 11 for those highlights. Until then, that does it for sports. Mike is up next with a check on your forecast. And for NBC Palm Springs, I'm Brandy Flores.
Welcome back. Well, here's a gorgeous live look courtesy of our friend Walter Clark and some beautiful blue skies. The thing I have been noticing over the last few days is that gradual improvement. You remember a month ago, especially right around Labor Day, you couldn't even see the San Bernardinos. And then about a week or so ago, you started to see that silhouette popping up there, making for some beautiful sunsets. Air quality just slowly improving every single day out there. And the mid and the upper levels of the atmosphere are looking fantastic as well. It was a hot one out there today, 113 19 degrees at Palm Springs International, 2 degrees shy of being 20 degrees above average. 95 is the 30-year norm for this time of year. 67 is the 30-year norm in the overnights. We were warm there as well by about 12 degrees. 2 degrees shy of the record set back in 1980. 47 is the overnight record as far as the cool goes. You know what? I'll get out of the way so you can see this. Thermal was also 113 degrees today. That was enough to break their old record of 112 going back to 2012. Indio getting up to 111, breaking their old record by 1 degree. San Diego for the second day in a row, not only breaking a record, but shattering it close to 100 degrees near the coast. That is way too hot. And Idlewild boomed up into the mid-90s today as well, tying their old record going back to the 1980s. We broke a record of a very different type today. If you were with Jerry Steffen earlier this morning, he was telling you all about this. 136, that's the number of days that we have been 100 degrees or warmer. The old record was 135 going back to 1958. That is a very impressive number. Here are some more numbers for you, just in case you like to play along at home. 136 days of 100 degrees or more, 65 days of 110 or more, and we've had 5 days that have been 120 or more so far this year. All of that comes from Palm Springs International, where we officially keep the records. If you're wondering, the first 100-degree day was on April 23rd. The first 110-degree day was in the first week of May, and the first 120-degree, the first of 5, was on July 12th. And just in case you're wondering, this is not an anomaly. This is not a blip. If you look over the last 20 to 30 years, we've been seeing those averages going up and up and up every year. Give anything to go back to 1910. We will see some gentle cooling as we go towards the weekend here. Another low, very similar to the last 2 or 3 that we've seen, will bring a shortwave, well, actually a long wave trough. It'll be shortwave by the time it gets to us. Doesn't bring any rain our way, but will bring that flow back on shore and help to cool us gradually and get a little bit more moisture into the atmosphere. If you're wondering what that blob is right there, that is Marie. That is the 4th named hurricane of the season, currently a Category 2, expected to ramp up to a Cat 4. That is a major hurricane, but it will hit some cooler water, will not affect Hawaii, and will dissipate over the next 7 days. 88 currently in the Yucca Valley, 99 in Coachella, 106 still at the airport, 72 in Big Bear, and after tying that record today, Idlewild sitting in the mid-80s. It's going to take winds but another few hours to switch around to the northwest, not particularly gusty tonight. We get ourselves into the low to mid-70s, but as we go towards Friday morning, dew points are going to be really low. We're talking about 5% humidity again. 111 in Palm Springs and Palm Desert. You'll find ourselves getting under 110 on Sunday, and then we'll get ourselves down into the low 100s on Thursday, and maybe, just maybe, some overnights in the upper 60s.
Thank you, Mike. And tonight's Showbiz Report, the series Emily in Paris for you rom-com fans, and the drama The Boys in the Band, 2 Netflix originals, and Manny the Movie Guy tells you which one you should spend your weekend with.
Hello, movie buffs. 2 new Netflix originals. Let's begin by visiting Emily in Paris.
Bonjour, you guys!
Pardon my French, but I just can't stop speaking the romance language for this sweet and charming rom-com from the creative mind of Darren Star, who gave us Sex and the City and Younger, among others.
I'd always had an idea about doing a show about an American in Paris, having that expatriate experience, living and working there.
Emily Cooper? He is blessed to have Lily Collins as Emily, his American in Paris. Like the ingenue days of Audrey Hepburn in Sabrina, we follow the ups and downs of her adventure in Paris because of her wide-eyed charm.
I just found her to be lovable.
This 10-episode series is an easy binge watch.
That goes down smoothly like a fine wine. It's quite refreshing.
Part Devil Wears Prada with an Emily twist. Say oui to Emily in Paris.
Merci.
And for that, Emily in Paris gets 3.5 out of 4. I can't wait for season 2. Kisses.
Yes, I watch you. I see you. That's a very big deal for me.
That was the sweet director of The Boys in the Band, who, to my surprise, lives in Palm Springs. Joe Mantello remade a seminal LGBTQ work of art that is a snapshot of the way it was before the Stonewall riots. This was first an original 1968 play from Mark Crowley that became a William Friedkin film in 1970. Ryan Murphy revived the play on Broadway in 2018, featuring all-out gay actors, and those same players appeared in this biting and heartfelt 50th anniversary version.
Emery, no.
Set in 1968 in New York City, the plot revolves around the birthday of Harold, played with with much gusto by Zachary Quinto. He is matched wit by wit by the host of the party, Michael, played by Jim Parsons.
It's just about being a human being and finding love.
The film has the same tenacity as Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. It is full of powerful passion and emotion with smart quips to get you going.
I mean, somebody like me can now be on TV in the news, no less.
Yeah.
So,
We're glad you are.
And for that, the boys in the band gets 3.5 out of 4. The Way We Were Kisses. I'm Manny the Movie Guy. Stream them now on Netflix.
brighter side of the news is brought to you by Holland RV, located off the I-10 at Washington.
The Living Desert Zoo and Gardens is back to normal hours, or at least as normal as anything can be when you have giraffes living there. You can now visit from 8 to 5 with 3 nature preserve hiking trails ready to explore. The Living Desert also unveiled a plaque acknowledging the contributions by the city of Indian Wells, because much of that property is, well, in Indian Wells.
So there you go. Palm Desert. There you go.
Yeah, well, it's partially Palm Desert and apparently mostly
my
in Indian
geography's
Wells.
a little, But they're bringing rhinos to the desert. I thought that's pretty cool.
Rhino's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's going to do it for us. See you at 11.